Hi, I'm Michael Caselli, and I'm the chairman of Clarion Gaming. And it is my pleasure to be here today to chair the SiGMA Focus Asia. Joining me today are Katja Nordstrand, who's the head of affiliate from Prosh Friends, and Charles Herisson, who's the CEO of BetAdvisor.com. Welcome. We've
Thanks,
got a
Michael.
global audience today.
Thank you for the invitation.
We've got a global audience today, and I wanted to start by just laying some groundwork so people would understand the differences between what's happening a little bit in Asia and from North America or from Europe. So Charles, I wanted to ask you, how does an Asian affiliate program differ from a European or North American model? And can you also explain the Asian agency model to our guests that are not from Asia?
Sure, Michael. So the first difference is volume. As you can imagine, the Asian volume is much bigger than European or North American one at the moment. And then all the structure of the business is totally different in Asia. So first things, everything comes from rules. So as you can imagine, in Asia, the rules and the restriction are quite different compared with Europe and North America. And then there is a credit system that works for Asian agents. So the credit system permits even to get more facility for customer that can bet much more. And obviously the relationship between customer and affiliate or agent is quite different because in Asia, the agents always have a strong relationship with this customer. Instead, in Europe and North America, we got an affiliate model based online. And many times it can happen that the affiliate doesn't know his customer. And the Asian market is based on the word of mouth. And usually the commission for agent is based on turnover or on position taking. So the agents can be a real partner with bookmakers because he can take the risk. Instead, in the European markets of American ones, the affiliate usually works on CPA or revenue share or even hybrid models. So these models is totally different, and even the market is quite different. Actually, what we have seen in Asia in the last year is that the bookmakers are working with very tiny margin, and they get even some problem if they don't have a position taking from the agents. So the market is changing so much. And speaking about the Asian model, the best regulation, I think, is actually Alderney. That is a regulation that permits the agents to give credit, manage supermaster agents, and works quite well. Instead, in Europe, we usually in payment works with wallets like Neteller and Skrill, and everything is different. And above all, nowadays, with the regulation coming from the banks in Europe, like that one that we got in UK, the work is always very tough in this area. So I try to be very short because the conversation is quite interesting, but I think we have a lot of things to speak about.
Charles, that was a great introduction to the difference in the models between Europe, North America, and Asia, of course. Now, you mentioned the volumes. Volumes are obviously very big in Asia. It's an incredibly interesting market. The land-based volumes are larger and the online volumes are larger in Asia, and we've seen that for many years. And you talked about agents having a great relationship generally with the customers, but there's other ways to get to a customer as well. And Katja, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Brand ambassadors or influencers or influencer marketing has become a big industry globally in the past few years. But how are you utilizing the influencers in the Asian market to send quality traffic for gaming and gambling sites?
Well, often the most productive collaboration is a result of accidents and good deeds you've already forgot about. It's the same for both European and Asian markets. And I believe that everything is connected. For example, the Russian and Japanese markets have very strong affiliate communities. And sometimes you must reckon with them. When something happens, they may support you. For example, when another casino on Russian market copied our landing pages, it was our affiliates who supported us and publicly blamed them and refused to work with this casino. So how to get those loyal brand ambassadors? As for me, you need to support newcomers, first of all. who are recently in gambling. Try to explain them everything. Try to tell them about basics of working with affiliate programs. Answer all their questions. And then maybe one of 100 of them became a major affiliate, a big influencer, but he or she will never forget about your help. So as for me, it's both relevant for all the markets.
And Charles was mentioning the personal relationship between the agent and the player. How do you utilize a influencer to be a brand ambassador or to endorse a particular game or product? How do you get that same level of trust, I suppose, from someone who's broadcasting from one to many?
Well, product endorsement is really important, especially on the gray markets or like Russia or new markets as Japan, for example. First of all, it legalizes casino for people, make it acceptable and trustworthy. When you see casino pre-rolls before watching TV series, it's just an annoying ad. But when you see casino logo in a pop star's music video, it becomes a solid and reliable company. So the idea is simple. If you can integrate with a celebrity, you have tons of money and you are trustworthy. It works in Russia. Then you can use shots from video for your landing pages, for your banners, and finally, it's a news break for your affiliates. After integration with a crazy popular Russian brand Leningrad, they get more than 100 million views on YouTube. We saw discussions in affiliate chats, kind of, oh, Posh friends have lots of money, only they have enough money to work with this group. But when it comes to small influencers, let me say micro influencers or nano influencers, it's a bit different. So some tips are common for all kinds of influencers, both gambling and not gambling. And first of all, you have to take for granted that good opinion leaders know their audience better than you, always. So if you work, for example, with YouTube or Twitch streamers, set the clear KPIs. That's okay. For example, amount of live streams or videos, but give them creative freedom to drive the content. Never micromanage streamers and never help them to write their scripts. They always know better what to say. And they know how to introduce your casino better, what benefits to underline. It's important to agree and set up all necessary tracking beforehand and try to be attentive to influencers' needs. For example, Japanese streamers avoid putting direct referral links to video description. They're afraid that their channels may be banned. And exclusively for Japanese market, we released tracking bonus codes that affiliates can easily put on a creeping line, on chatbot, or just on their t-shirts. And if players enter these bonus codes, they're automatically attached to streamers' links. And the most important is to remember that influencer marketing is a long play. Sometimes you need months to make good, profound relationship with affiliates, but it's usually worth it.
Yeah, I could I could agree with everything you're saying, Katya. We used a very big influencer at one point and did an interview with him in a magazine that we used to run called Bluff, which was a poker magazine. And that particular influencer caused so much traffic to come to the site in 2 days, it actually crashed our servers. Then again, we've used very small poker players and less popular poker players who have delivered traffic, though, for years and years to come. So you never really know who's going to turn out to be the biggest influencer. And you're absolutely right. They know how to get to their particular niche very, very well. And talking about that, Charles, tipsters are an increasingly important type of influencer as well. You're certainly influencing what people bet on, but oftentimes also influencing where they're going to bet or perhaps get the best prices. but there's sometimes concern from operators about getting traffic that have come from tipster sites. Tell me a little bit about the players and the type of players that tipster sites attract. Are they big bettors? Are they more or less loyal to the betting site that you're sending them to? And are they a different type of a player than someone who wouldn't use a tipping service?
So, Michael, it's really tough to give you an answer to this question because with BetAdvisor, we work in many different countries. We got more than 80 countries where we work, and we see different patterns from markets to markets. So I would say that a customer for tipster service in Africa, let's say Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, are really different from customers that we got from more mature markets like United Kingdom. And so this difference is between, let's say, kind of sports, kind of bet, and obviously kind of tipster that they would like to follow. So then we have another difference that comes from the tipster world is not just a platform like BetAdvisor that certify what tipster give to you as information, because on BetAdvisor, you can find really certified tipster. Instead, the world of tipster is usually quite different. And I think that the operators should be very scared about tipsters because they can generate a lot of problem even on their brand side. Because if a tipster starts to spot in a very bad way, going outside of the rules, it can give problems even to the operators. So I really would love to see a future where the affiliate industry is much more regulated, because this permits to have a much better work in the entire industry. So nowadays we see a lot of tipsters coming from social network where they spot in let's say unfair way things that are likely and not real. So that's that's the biggest problem. In terms of customer coming from tipster, I would say that usually the customer that follow tipster are beginner bettors. So maybe they are, let's say, between beginner and entry level. They don't know too much. They just want to have a new reason to bet, and they start following, tipsters. What I can see from my perspective on BetAdvisor, where we have a big overview with more than 1,000 tipster, is that a lot of time I see that customer just follow the last trends. So the customer doesn't analyze the full history of the tipster. He doesn't analyze, very well all the opportunity that he can see, but he just simply see, okay, this tipster is winning in the last 2 months. I will follow betting his tip because he's winning in this period. He's hot tip. So I don't think that on mathematical perspective, this is the best way to follow tipster. And I would strongly suggest, to customer to analyze much better their tipster, and above all to tipster to work in a more regulated way. We have a big problem in terms of conflict of interest, because at this point, on one side, we have tipster that usually advise for something to bet, and on the other side, they usually get revenue share for operators. So I think that when you work with tipster, it's much better that you work just on CPA in order to avoid this conflict of interest. That is something that should be even regulated. So if the tipster wants to stay on the side of the bettor, that's where he has to get the commission, just the CPA, because otherwise you get a conflict of interest. From my perspective, I've seen different tipster giving different kind of traffic to operators, and it's never easy to understand what they will do. I speak a lot of times with operators, and sometimes they tell me, I would like to work with this tipster, I don't want to work with this other tipster. And I simply think that, unfortunately, it's not easy to give an answer and to analyze quickly the tipster. But I agree with you, the tipster are very hot topics nowadays, and is a great tools to make acquisition, is maybe the best tools to make acquisition nowadays.
Interesting, that's a big statement. Well, let me ask you this. Where you obviously have a lot of traffic being driven to your site because you're one of the bigger operators. But where are you finding your VIP customers and your big tipsters or your influencer tipsters? And what kind of offers do you give them, and what kind of privileges can they derive from working with you?
Oh, well, we did a lot of tactics and a lot of strategy on this. Finally, I would say that the best tipster comes always from word of mouth and from previous tipster that were very happy with us. They spoke with their friends because this is very small community. So you got a lot of tipster that maybe start to contact me to solve some of their problem. Usually starts from maybe some problem with payments, some problem with something, and they ask some kind of advice. So we are always very happy to give advice to tipster, even if they don't work with us, because we know that this is, let's say, the first step of strong, full relationship for the future. And usually the best way to work with them is to organize even live events. We did a lot of nice things in the past, and even with some of our partners, like we did an amazing football match on the Anfield Stadium with Liverpool legends, together with Neteller, and that was an amazing event in the past. We did the same thing with BetClick in Benfica. So, be part of these real events is an amazing moment to get relationship with the best tipster and the best customer even. Then, just a few days ago, we did an amazing poker tournament organized by one of our tipster. And that was an amazing tools because poker tournament during the COVID was the best way to attract new customer on board. And even if this tipster didn't get any kind of experience on poker, it was just making a competition against all his customer base, asking, let's play poker together, and who will win against me will win a big jackpot. So there are a lot of ways, and I always believe in real relationship. I think that's make the biggest difference.
Sure it does. Katya, you seem to be agreeing with quite a lot of what Charles has said. But of course, you're using a different group of influencers rather than tipsters. You're using a lot of streamers, as you mentioned before, and sometimes even celebrity endorsements or whatever it might be. How are you? Where do you find your influencers? How do you bring them on board? And what are the reward structures that you'd be looking to provide to an influencer? What's going to get them on board?
Well, I totally agree with Charles about word of mouth and about helping and answering their questions. Sometimes they have negative attitude towards our affiliate program or casinos. But when you explain everything, sometimes you can even show them admin panel and they become your best friends because they're truly interested how you work. Sometimes we invite them to our office. We can make them a guided tour to show everything, how do we work, our logos on our walls, etc. And sometimes we make big parties. That's true. We love making parties. Then you mentioned celebrities. Usually, integration with celebrity means that you make flat payments. But everything changes when you convert celebrities or casino influencers to brand ambassadors. We work with them. We are very flexible. We work with them on typical commission models like rev share, hybrid, or CPA deals. And sometimes they can even advertise our tournaments, our events for free. Sometimes they're interested in mutual PR. For example, they have Telegram channels. We also have our Posh Friends Telegram channel, and we can give them exposure in our channel and then get target audience for sub-affiliates deals. Some partners just happy to announce new events because we give them content, we give them visuals, exclusive promotions, etc. So we just send them press release and they make very good and interesting content.
Excellent.
Sometimes we make interviews or Skype talks with our affiliates because they need advertising for their websites where they write about different affiliate programs, how to work in the gambling industry, and they need more exposure, and we can give them this exposure.
Brilliant. So it sounds like the thread going through all of these questions is that relationships, from meeting the affiliate through
Yes.
managing the affiliate through their relationships to the customer. It's all about relationship marketing, which is something I obviously would expect, but it oftentimes doesn't get put into practice. But it sounds like both of you are doing so. Finally, I'd like to end on a question about the obvious, the COVID-19 outbreak. And Charles, I'd like to ask you how gambling habits have changed during the COVID-19 outbreak, and if you think those habits will continue on once this pandemic has passed.
Well, prediction is always very tough to do, above all when you don't have anything in the past where you can create, your own stats and your own ideas. So for sure, I believe that we will have in the future less investment in, let's say, sports betting, and much more investment in esports and casino, and the sport industry should start to think in a different way. And the cross-selling products and strategy, it will be very important for people just involved on sports. I'm thinking, for example, on the exchange products that got some big problem during the last periods. And they are the guys that have to fast change their business model. My idea is that we will see a growth of the YouTube, Twitch channels. So I think that this pandemic time gave us this digital transformation in a new way. So we got a fast speed up to move on digital transformation, on nice webinar like this one. And nowadays, everyone is arranging his own webinar. And tools like Twitch, I think, will make a huge difference in the future. And I can see that these kind of tools are perfect, above all, to spot, casino and gaming contents. My opinion for the future is that we will see a lot of tipsters that will move from just to be tipster to be affiliates, and then they will go from affiliates of sports betting, where they are more comfortable, to affiliates of casino, esports, and different kind of game. What we are doing on our side is trying to coach our tipster to become a good affiliates, and then to move them from normal affiliates to super affiliates. And I think that the future will be coaching. That will be the industry that will grow faster. And we need, coaching almost in everything that we are doing nowadays. And above all, in this big moment of transformation, it will be really important to learn new tactics and to know better the tools that works better.
Charles, thank you very much. Katya, thank you for your contributions as well. Whether you're joining us from Asia or from the rest of the world, I'm Michael Caselli. Thank you for joining us for SiGMA Focus Asia. Good day.